Today, I'm going to tell you about Monroe. No, not that Monroe, this Monroe. 5th President of the United States, in fact. Or otherwise known as the last cocked-hat, heir of good feelings president, James Monroe. He was in office from March 4th, 1817 to March 3rd, 1825. And he was the first president to ride on a steamboat! I'm sure that's significant to this presentation. After losing his first chance at being president, he was instead sent to be the U.S. minister to France. However, he must have done something wrong in that position, because the Federalists were angry about his actions there, so he was soon recalled like a can of beans in 1797. That would be low point number 1. Now, you heard me mention earlier that James Monroe was also called the Era of Good Feeling president. Well, the Era of Good Feelings was a time after the U.S.'s victory in the War of 1812. Soon after being elected, Monroe went on a goodwill tour of Boston, starting the first moments of his trend as being a popular president among the people. That would be high point number 1. The Era of Good Feelings didn't last very long though, not with the Panic of 1819 and the dip into depression soon following that. And now here's low point number 2. Many officials believe that Monroe did not handle the issue of the Depression forcefully enough, which some argue may have lengthened it. During his second election, Monroe was uncontested with no opponents in his 1820 re-election. He received all the electoral votes but won, because a New Hampshire delegate wanted Washington to be the only president elected unanimously. Oh well, at least it wasn't Rhode Island that time. Monroe's dealings with foreign affairs are certainly what set his name in the stone wall of history, though. As Spain began reclaiming old Latin American colonies, and Russia began to create a trading post in California, and John Quincy Adams' always present suggestions, Monroe made a statement to Congress. This basically told Europe that America wouldn't mess around in their affairs if they wouldn't mess with America's. While already existing foreign colonies would be left alone, colonizing on America after the statement would violate this trust and would be seen as a threat. The statement later became known as the Monroe Doctrine, marking one of the president's best successes in history by making one of America's first assertions. Big success, right? Well, the good doctrine wasn't even named after him until the 1850s, about 20 years after he died. Ouch! During his presidency, in 1819, Florida was ceded by Spain to the U.S. on February 22nd. In other words, Spain was giving the U.S. Florida if they in return canceled $5 million of Spanish debt. So a trade, or a purchase, depends on how you look at it. Whether it was coincidental or not, Monroe had some interesting cabinet choices. With himself as an Easterner from Virginia, he also had John Quincy Adams, his Secretary of State, for North, John C. Calhoun for South, and he almost had a full compass with Henry Clay as the West. But he refused the office.